Hi! So I've noticed a trend lately. A lot of bag makers are having issues for some reason with their thread showing on the seams from the exterior of the bag. And just like diarrhea, these problems come up in waves on social media. You won't normally see this on a straight edge, so if you're doing a straight line, you're probably fine. It's usually on the weird shapes, like going around a rounded corner, or if you've done some kind of pinch for boxed corners, that's when you're gonna get the most stress because you're trying to unnaturally bend that fabric in a way that God never intended. And as you can tell from this little example that I prepared for the video, you can actually see the stitching and it's like it's almost pulling itself apart. That's because it's a rounded corner. So basically, you're trying to pull all of that fabric in some weird way, and it's having issues trying to distribute the pressure. Now, one of the ways that people have been told to kind of fix this over time is just to use matching thread. Absolutely, like this is a known issue. It's gonna happen no matter what you do, but there are ways to minimize it. And of course, the first one is going to be using a matching thread color. Now, I use super cool like pastel rainbow so it would stand out a little more for the video for once I actually thought of that. But if I use black thread, would have been a little better. However, there is another technique you can use on top of actually doing the same thread color. You can stitch a second line of stitching on the side of the seam allowance right next to it. And what this does is it helps distribute the pressure or the weight that's being put against the fabric in that unnatural position so that it kind of spreads it out a little better and doesn't look weird. To demonstrate, I'm going to go right over to my Juki and I'm just going to stitch right here on the inside of the seam allowance on that side of the stitch that I did originally. I'm going to do the exact same for the stitch length because of course this is vinyl, so I don't want to have the vinyl get perforated and rip all over. But one of the things I'm definitely going to do is try to offset it a bit such that I am starting the stitch within another stitch, so in the middle of another. So basically, instead of starting in the exact same spot and putting my needle down here, I'll put my needle down over here to start that next line. So we're gonna put this in, and I'm going to just manually roll the wheel down such that my needle goes in right in between one of those stitches, but you know, on the opposite side. And I'm gonna start stitching. And you're gonna just stay right there within at least or at most 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. Now for me, I can use this foot as guide. For others, you might need to use some washi tape or just eyeball it. But the idea is to stay right next to the line, not going over it again, and then you're going to end your stitch. Now I'm backing up, but this is also like a marine vinyl that has the woven. Okay, so we're going to undo that. And we'll snip it for good measure. Wow. And now you can see that I have this gorgeous rainbow shape that I've done, but it's slightly offset from that first line that I stitched. If you did it in the same location, as in you started the stitch at roughly the same spot and it wasn't kind of hopscotching each other around, then it probably wouldn't help as much. Now, if we take this and we flip it, and mind you, I am using a light color thread, so regardless, it's gonna look a little funky for you guys, but it's a lot less severe than it was the first time. This is how you minimize it. The urge to take the seam allowance, or rather your stitch length, and shrink it and make it smaller is right there. Like, I get it. People want to dial it back a bit, but if you dial it back with thickness like this and thicker fabrics and even just multiple layers of fabric, then it's possibly going to perforate or you're going to have skipped stitches. You need to have a longer stitch length of 3 millimeters to 4 millimeters if you're doing thicker layers or just thicker fabric in general. And that is quite literally it. To minimize seeing the stitching from the right side of the fabric on any of your bags with thicker seams, you just need to use matching thread and stitch that secondary line kind of off kilter from the first one, just within the first line on the seam allowance side, and that's going to help distribute the weight of anything that's basically causing stress on these weird shaped corners or whatever in your bags. Just whatever you do, please don't decrease your stitch length. Again, I think it really bears repeating because so many people will have that urge and think maybe if I bring it all together, it'll be fine. But in reality, it's going to probably cause you more problems than fixing any existing problems. As always, thank you very much. Please feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your comments below.